Imagine this for a moment: you live every day as though your body will somehow forgive the choices you make, as though what you put into your mouth has no consequence. But life doesn't work that way. Every decision, every bite, every careless indulgence carves out your destiny. The very fuel that sustains you can, at the same time, destroy you. And here's the terrifying reality. There are foods you've been told are harmless, even healthy, yet in truth, they erode your strength, accelerate your decline, and shorten your life. That's the price you pay for ignorance. When people hear the word vegetable, they instinctively attach it to an image of health, purity, and vitality. It's almost automatic, as though the mere label is enough to justify its consumption without question. We've been told since childhood that vegetables are the cornerstone of wellness, the antidote to disease, and the very fuel of longevity. And yet, the world is far more complex than that. The human body is a delicate system governed by intricate biological laws, and it does not blindly accept everything we choose to throw into it. To assume that every vegetable is inherently good for you is to fall into the trap of simplistic thinking, the kind of thinking that leaves you vulnerable to forces you don't fully understand. There are vegetables that do not nourish you. They erode you silently, slowly, sometimes invisibly. They strip away strength and compromise your health, all while hiding behind the mask of supposed virtue. That is the illusion of health, and it is far more dangerous than outright poison, because poison is obvious, but illusion is seductive. You see, people crave certainty. They want clear, black and white categories: this is good, this is bad. Eat this, avoid that. It makes life easier, more manageable. But reality is not built that way. Reality is harsh, complicated, and unforgiving. The human body does not care about your wish for simplicity. It responds only to what you provide. And if you hand it foods that seem safe but are in fact harmful, you are engaging in a deception, a self-deception, that inevitably carries consequences. These so-called vegetables can disrupt your digestion, weaken your immune system, and drain your vitality over time. And because the effects are not immediate, people continue to consume them, believing they are building health, when in fact they are dismantling it brick by brick. This illusion is strengthened by culture, by tradition, and by authority. You were taught by your parents, your teachers, your governments, that vegetables are the foundation of health, and so you trusted them. But trust without truth is dangerous. You must learn to question, to think critically, to observe reality with your own eyes. Just because something is green, or natural, or sold in a grocery store under the label of vegetable, does not mean it is worthy of your trust. The world is full of plants that can harm you, weaken you, or even kill you, and yet the human desire for an easy narrative blinds us to that fact. The illusion of health thrives on this blindness. Consider what happens when you eat under false assumptions. You believe you are protecting your body, investing in your future. But in truth, you may be accelerating its decline. That is not just a mistake, it is a betrayal of yourself, a violation of the responsibility you owe to your own existence. To live is to suffer enough already, but to suffer because of ignorance, because of the refusal to investigate reality, that is an avoidable tragedy, and the tragedy becomes magnified when it steals years from your life, when it erodes your capacity to live fully, when it robs you of strength that could have been yours. The illusion of health is powerful because it comforts you. It allows you to feel virtuous, disciplined, even superior, while you may be poisoning yourself. It's a lie wrapped in the appearance of wisdom. And lies are insidious, because once you accept them, you begin to build your life on them. You construct your habits, your identity, and even your sense of morality on false foundations. That is why this illusion is not merely a nutritional error, it is a philosophical one. It speaks to the danger of blind faith, to the perils of believing something simply because you want it to be true. To tear away the illusion requires courage, because it forces you to admit that you've been deceived, perhaps for years, perhaps for your whole life. And that is not easy. People cling to their habits, their routines, their comfortable narratives, because change is terrifying. But if you refuse to confront the truth, you guarantee that the price you pay will be even greater. The illusion of health is not harmless. It is the subtle enemy that wears the mask of a friend, and it will extract its payment from you, whether you recognize it or not. There are forces hidden beneath the surface of everyday life, forces that most people never bother to recognize. When it comes to what we eat, those forces often take the form of toxins, compounds buried within the very foods we are told to trust. They do not announce themselves with immediate pain or sickness, because if they did, we would recoil and never touch them again. Instead, they operate silently, subtly, day after day, year after year, wearing down the machinery of the body until it begins to falter. That is the true danger of hidden toxins. Not that they strike suddenly, but that they erode slowly while you remain unaware. You think you are being nourished, yet in truth you are being drained. You believe you are making an investment in health, when in reality you are drawing from your life's bank account without realizing it. The human body is resilient, yes, but it is not indestructible. It has systems designed to process, detoxify, and expel harmful substances. And for a while it succeeds. For a while, you can get away with the bad choices, the silent poisons, the dangerous foods. But eventually the balance tips. The toxins accumulate. The immune system weakens. The energy levels drop. The clarity of thought diminishes. And by the time you notice something is wrong, by the time the body begins to cry out with unmistakable symptoms, the damage has already been done. That is the cruel nature of hidden toxins. They mask themselves as harmless, buying time to do their work unnoticed. Consider the psychology of it. We are drawn to the things that appear safe. We put our trust in them. And the more familiar they are, the stronger the trust becomes. But trust is dangerous when it is misplaced. When you consume foods that contain these hidden toxins, you are not just taking in calories. You are allowing a subtle invader access to your system. You are lowering your defenses against an enemy you cannot even see. That is how weakness grows. Not from a sudden attack, but from repeated exposure to something that slowly drains your strength until you no longer recognize yourself. This is why so many people live in confusion about their health. They feel tired, but they cannot explain why. They struggle with digestion, with inflammation, with mood swings, and they blame it on stress or genetics or age. Rarely do they trace the problem back to the plate, back to the supposedly safe vegetables that are quietly undermining them. And so the cycle continues. They eat more of the very things that are harming them, convinced that they are making a wise choice because the cultural narrative has told them so. This is not ignorance by accident. It is ignorance reinforced by systems of belief, by marketing, by authority figures who never bothered to question the reality themselves. The insidious nature of hidden toxins is that they do not need to be lethal in a single dose. They simply need to weaken you, to tilt the balance of your life just slightly downward every day. Over the course of years, that slope becomes steep. You lose vitality without even realizing what you've lost. You adapt to feeling less alive, and you call it normal. And when everyone else around you is doing the same, when the collective decline becomes accepted as the baseline, the truth is buried even deeper. You no longer compare yourself to what you could be. You compare yourself to the equally weakened people around you, and you conclude that you are fine. But deep down, you know something is off. Deep down, you sense that the body is meant for more, that life should feel fuller, sharper, more powerful. The reason you don't experience it is not because you are unworthy of it, but because you are being robbed of it, day by day, by substances you have been deceived into trusting. These hidden toxins are the silent killers disguised as nourishment. And unless you develop the courage to see through the disguise, you will continue to pay the price without ever understanding what you have traded away. Every action you take is a kind of negotiation with the future. And nowhere is that more evident than in the act of eating. When you put something into your body, you are not merely satisfying hunger in the present moment. You are entering into a contract. The contract is not written in ink, but in biology, in the silent exchange between your cells and the substance you consume. The body responds with precision, either by building strength, repairing damage, and fueling vitality, or by storing toxins, increasing inflammation, and accelerating decay. Every bite is a decision, and every decision has a cost. You can pay in energy now, or in years later, but one way or another, the bill always comes due. The illusion that most people fall into is the belief that food is trivial, that one meal here or there cannot possibly matter. They think of it as fleeting, as inconsequential. But the truth is far more brutal. Every bite compounds, every choice stacks upon the next, building a trajectory that leads either to resilience or to ruin. Think of your body like a ledger with every bite. You are either making a deposit or a withdrawal. You may not see the balance in real time, but over weeks, months, and years, the numbers add up. Some people are bankrupting themselves without realizing it, eating in ways that strip away their future, handing over their vitality in exchange for fleeting satisfaction. The body does not lie. It keeps the score with ruthless accuracy. That is why people wake up one day exhausted, overweight, plagued with disease, and confused about how it all happened. It did not happen suddenly. It was the result of 1,000 small contracts made with food. 1,000 moments where the wrong choice was justified, excused, or ignored. And when you add them all together, you find yourself paying in ways you never anticipated. You pay in fatigue. You pay in illness. You pay in years stolen from the end of your life, years that could have been lived in strength and clarity, but instead are spent in weakness and decline. What makes this contract so dangerous is that the price is rarely immediate. If every harmful bite produced instant agony, no one would continue. But the body absorbs the damage silently, spreading it across time, letting you believe you've escaped the consequence. That delay is what keeps people trapped. They tell themselves it's fine, it's harmless, it's just one more meal. But the contract is being signed whether you acknowledge it or not, and when the body eventually demands repayment, it will not negotiate. It will not forgive. The bill will be exact, and it will strip you of what you once thought was guaranteed. The responsibility lies in understanding that food is not neutral. It is not just calories, not just something to fill the stomach. It is an agent of destiny, shaping who you are and who you will become. If you choose poorly, you are sacrificing potential, mortgaging your future for the comfort of the present moment. If you choose wisely, you are investing in strength, clarity, and longevity. But you cannot escape the fact that every choice is a contract, every bite a deal struck with life itself. Some deals bring dividends, others bring destruction, but none come free. To eat carelessly is to live carelessly, and to live carelessly is to die before your time. The food you consume is either medicine or poison, and the body records every decision with perfect precision. That is why you must treat each bite as the contract it is, for the terms are non-negotiable, and the price, whether in energy today or in years tomorrow, will always be paid in full. You said keynote no.4, expanded into 600 words. Don't add ending sentences, don't add any headings, ChatGPT said. We live in a world where trust is constantly misplaced, especially when it comes to what we eat. People grow up believing that if something is widely accepted, if it is endorsed by culture, promoted by authority, or repeated often enough, then it must be safe. But safety is not determined by consensus. Safety is determined by reality, and reality does not bend to collective opinion. When a food is normalized by culture or promoted through media as healthy, that normalization becomes a powerful psychological trap. You stop questioning it. You stop investigating it. You assume it must be good simply because everyone around you treats it that way. And that assumption becomes the root of your downfall. Think of how habits are passed down. Parents feed their children foods they believe are nourishing because their own parents once did the same. Generations adopt practices without ever stopping to question whether they are truly beneficial or merely accepted tradition. What starts as a cultural pattern soon hardens into dogma. These vegetables are healthy. These are essential. These will protect you. And yet, hidden within some of these accepted foods are dangers that quietly chip away at your health. You don't recognize the damage because the belief system is so ingrained. It blinds you to reality, convincing you that what harms you is actually helping you. The media amplifies this illusion. Corporations spend billions to craft narratives around food, attaching images of vitality, longevity, and happiness to products that may be doing the opposite. Commercials show glowing families, energetic children, and athletes performing at their peak, all supposedly fueled by the very foods that might be eroding health in the background. The power of repetition cannot be underestimated. When you see and hear the same message enough times, it begins to shape your worldview. You stop thinking critically, and you surrender your judgment to the authority of the collective voice. This misplaced trust is not just a small error. It is a betrayal of your own responsibility. Because at the core of human existence lies the duty to discern, to question, to protect oneself against harm. But the convenience of following the herd often overrides this duty. People would rather blend into cultural patterns than stand apart and challenge them. They fear ridicule, they fear being wrong, they fear isolation. And so they continue eating foods that society has sanctified, even when their bodies quietly scream in protest. They normalize their fatigue, their illness, their gradual decline, because everyone around them is experiencing the same. Misery becomes the standard, weakness becomes the baseline, and the truth remains buried under the weight of tradition and mass persuasion. The tragedy is that many of the very people who promote these foods genuinely believe in them. Doctors, teachers, even health authorities may unknowingly perpetuate the deception because they themselves were indoctrinated by the same systems. They are not always liars in the conscious sense, but they are conduits of a larger lie, repeating information without deeply questioning its origins or consequences. This makes the cycle even harder to break, because when authority figures reinforce cultural beliefs, the illusion becomes nearly unshakable. People will ignore their own direct experience of illness and weakness if it contradicts what the experts and advertisements tell them. Yet reality does not care about authority. It does not care about tradition or media narratives. If a food is harmful, it will harm you, regardless of how widely accepted it is. The body does not process cultural belief, it processes chemical reality. It does not matter how much you trust the people telling you to eat it. If the substance undermines your health, that trust is misplaced. And misplaced trust is one of the most dangerous forms of negligence, because it blinds you to the truth while you continue to pay the cost. When culture and media normalize dangerous foods, they create an environment where harm is disguised as virtue, where poison is disguised as nourishment, and where the collective blindness ensures that individuals, keep signing away their vitality without even realizing it. Responsibility is the weight that every individual carries, whether they acknowledge it or not. And nowhere is that weight more obvious than in the choices we make about food. To live is to accept that your body is not just yours in the shallow sense. It is a vessel entrusted to you, a mechanism designed with extraordinary complexity, one that demands respect and care. Every bite you take is a demonstration of whether you are willing to shoulder that responsibility or abandon it for convenience, indulgence, or ignorance. Knowing what fuels your body and what poisons it is not optional. It is the foundation of survival. If you neglect it, if you live as though it doesn't matter, you hand your power away and condemn yourself to weakness. People want freedom without responsibility, but that is a childish fantasy. True freedom comes from knowledge, from the discipline of aligning your choices with reality. You cannot claim to be free if you are a slave to foods that corrode you. You cannot claim to be strong if your energy is constantly hijacked by what you consume. Every shortcut, every careless decision, every willful act of neglect adds up, and it is you who pays. The world does not bend to accommodate ignorance. Biology does not forgive because you didn't know better. The responsibility to know, to investigate, to discern, is yours and yours alone. The tragedy is that many people live in denial of this. They pretend that because everyone else eats a certain way, because certain vegetables are praised in culture, they are absolved of responsibility. But following the herd does not protect you from consequences. If you march with the crowd toward a cliff, you will still fall. Responsibility means stepping out of line, questioning the assumptions, and refusing to surrender your health to blind tradition. It means asking, what is this food really doing to me? And refusing to accept easy answers. It means watching your own body, noticing its signals, recognizing when fatigue, inflammation, or discomfort are signs of harm, and adjusting accordingly. The truth is that people often avoid responsibility because it demands courage. It demands sacrifice. It means saying no to habits you enjoy, no to foods that comfort you, no to patterns that everyone else seems to accept. It means confronting the unsettling fact that you may have been wrong for years, that you may have been poisoning yourself under the illusion of health. That admission is not easy, but it is necessary, because responsibility begins where denial ends. To take responsibility for your health is to stand up against your own weaknesses, your own excuses, and the societal forces that would rather keep you blind. And responsibility is not just about you as an isolated individual. It ripples outward. The way you treat your body influences your family, your children, your community. When you take responsibility, you set an example that others can see, and you create a possibility for them to do the same. When you neglect it, you normalize weakness, you pass down habits of destruction, you contribute to a culture of decay. Responsibility is contagious, but so is negligence, and you must decide which one you will embody. Knowing what fuels your body and what poisons it is not some abstract ideal. It is a practical demand of existence. You cannot outsource it. You cannot ignore it. You cannot escape it. If you choose not to learn, if you choose not to question, if you choose not to act, the price will be extracted from you anyway. The responsibility is yours, and reality enforces it with or without your consent. To live responsibly is to take control, to understand the difference between nourishment and poison, and to align your choices with that truth every single day. Ignorance always extracts a price, and when it comes to the food you consume, that price is paid in the most brutal currency imaginable: your strength, your vitality, and ultimately your life itself. People often think of ignorance as something harmless, as though not knowing frees them from accountability. But the body does not operate on what you know or don't know. It operates on what you feed it. Whether you are aware of the danger or not, whether you believe the narrative or not, the reality of biology continues to unfold with ruthless precision. When you eat foods that undermine your health, ignorance does not protect you. It only blinds you while the damage accumulates. The cost of this ignorance appears first in small, almost dismissible ways. You wake up tired, but you tell yourself it is just stress. You feel bloated or inflamed, but you chalk it up to age. You notice that your energy is not what it used to be, that your focus wavers, that your mood darkens, but you dismiss it as normal. And that dismissal is part of the price. You normalize weakness, you call it inevitable, and in doing so, you surrender pieces of your life without even realizing they are slipping away. The vegetables that you have been told are safe, that you have been told will lengthen your life, may in fact be cutting it short, and your ignorance ensures you continue paying for them with every passing day. Over time, the cost grows heavier. What begins as fatigue becomes chronic illness. What begins as discomfort becomes dependency on medication. What begins as a slight decline becomes a collapse in resilience. You lose years not only at the end of your life, but in the middle of it. When you should be at your strongest, your most capable. The tragedy is not only that ignorance shortens your life, but that it steals the quality of the life you still have. You move through your days dulled, compromised, weakened, unable to rise to your full potential, and you accept it as normal because you never realized it was preventable. The price of ignorance is not confined to the physical body alone. It seeps into the mind, into the spirit. When your body is weakened, your will is weakened. When your energy is low, your ambition shrinks. When your health is compromised, your sense of possibility narrows. You become smaller, not just physically but existentially, because the body is the vessel through which you act in the world. If you poison it unknowingly, you shrink your capacity to live meaningfully, to achieve, to stand strong in the face of challenge. That is a price far greater than most realize, and yet it is the price paid every day by those who refuse to see. What makes this ignorance so devastating is that it is often chosen. People do not want to question what they eat, because questioning threatens comfort. It threatens tradition. It threatens the trust they have placed in culture, authority, and habit. To admit that you have been wrong, to admit that what you thought was healthy is in fact harmful, is to shatter a part of your identity. Many would rather pay with their health than confront that uncomfortable truth. And so they continue in blindness, continuing the very practices that ensure their decline, consoling themselves with the lie that what they don't know won't hurt them. But what you don't know will hurt you, and it will keep hurting you until there is nothing left to take. The price of ignorance is weakness, decay, and a shortened future. It is years lost, strength wasted, and opportunities destroyed. It is the surrender of the life you could have lived, the life of clarity, energy, and power in exchange for the illusion of safety. And once the price is paid, there are no refunds, no appeals, no second chances. The cost is final, and the debt is collected in full.